Go.
Okay. Good morning, Brookshire. Thanks, Joe, for the background. Gotta love Robin Williams. So welcome to a little, little energy this morning. Thanks for joining coaching. So today's topic, very timely. We've got all of these closings that have been happening. Record number last month. Record numbers coming in the months ahead. So the question, mission critical, and the question today is, how do we transition these clients into an ongoing stay in touch campaign and build our relationships and build on that? So this has been hard for agents to do throughout the years. So you can imagine that it's not something that as a whole that we do very well at. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let's look at, I'm going to prime the pump a little more, and I'm going to need your best ideas. So if you're already starting to percolate a few, write them down and get ready to share them on this grand question of how do we maintain relationships after closing. That's the big topic today. Jamie Roney will deliver some quick tips on just tools, not going to do any training on the tools per se, but remind everybody where to go for resources on how to do this. And I've written down, my favorite ideas here on that subject. But to prime the pump a little more, let's make sure that we understand kind of more of what's going on here. So here's some of the wisdom behind it. So, sorry for the email. Take a look at our current market conditions. This is, as of right now, active listing inventory. Top line is last year 19. Look at it trailing off since April, the total amount of inventory way down. I'm just going to take a quick look at Salt Lake County. Okay, this column is 19, this column is 20. We were already low to begin with, but we're already 50% lower or close to than last year at this time. If we looked at Summit County, look at the discrepancy there in active listings. This is reflected in this graph over a 5-year time frame. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and look at the trailing off of inventory. And then here are the numbers to look at. 16 to 20, this is statewide, so 4,800 listings versus 2016. We were more than double that in 2016. So this is just unprecedented low numbers of inventory. Our under contracts risen really high, so a lot of closings coming up. Here's the numbers reflected in that. I'll grab Salt Lake. Our two top markets. So under contracts, way above, right, over last year, even though last year was such a great year. This is 2019 September versus now. And then here's that reflected in the graph, the number of contracts really rising. So it's trending along with the decrease in inventory and an increase of under contracts. Bottom line is, we got a lot of buyers out there buying up what's left on the shelves and leaving the shelves pretty bare. Someone said to me, this is just like the toilet paper scenes that we saw in the supermarkets. And, there was not a whole lot left, right? So that's kind of what we see today in our market. The off-market status, not a whole lot of stories there. But so I'm going to stop sharing for just a second, then show you the NAR graphs. Remember, anytime we talk about stats, we always talk about what it means to everybody. If any buyer is waiting, hoping that more inventory is going to come on shortly, I would say they may be waiting for a very long time. They're likely to pay more. Interest rates have thrown gas on this on this fire as well, making it more affordable for everyone and increasing the buyer pool. Buyer pools are very high and inventory is very low. So appreciation will happen. When that happens, we know we have low inventory and high demand, we drive appreciation, which drives up the cost of housing. That is being band-aided by low interest rates. Sellers have a lot of equity in their property right now, and if they have a difficult property to sell, now's the time to have those discussions. So all of this is driving a record number of closings over the last 30 days, and the new in the future, new closings in the next 60 days. So if we tee back up our grand question, which is how do I maintain relationships post-closing? The good news, guys, is if you don't have closings and you're not transitioning anybody yet, the principles are the same in building relationships from the start as they are with maintaining them over time. Okay, so there's some good news for everybody in this discussion. Okay, before I unmute my co-host and we start having some dialogue, let me show you the NAR screen. Okay, take a look at this, guys. What can we learn from this graph? Okay, how buyer found real estate agent. So the first one is, no surprise, it's by referral. This is the biggest slice of the pie. It's about 40% across all age groups. It gets a little higher in some of these other groups here. This one is surprising, used agent previously. Now, I guess I would have to we could debate on how many in this group could have used the previous agent, meaning that they moved in the same area, or that agent practiced in that area, or could have serviced their transaction. It's not 100%, we know that, but what is surprising is only 12% used the agent that they used before. If we combine this referral, and we'll call this past client, okay, together, we're getting, that's 53% of the pie. And then if I come down and actually added real estate agents who could have referred, that's also something that could be in my center of influence database, right? I've got family and friends in my database. I've got past clients in my database. And I may even have agents and brokers in, say, Moab, St. George, Logan, Park City, Cottonwood Heights, Ogden, North Salt Lake, and I could go on and on, Utah County. Every time I say one of these markets, we should be thinking about that interstate transfer that could be a referral, okay? Because that's potential business. And look, it's the referral from agent to broker in open house is about the same. And we've had really good success in holding our listings open. Perhaps we could look at our database and how we stay in touch with our agents inside our own company, inside our state, and those outside of our state. Okay. So I asked this in sales meeting. So let's go to that graph and we'll just re-tee this up that says how many actually did use their real estate agent. And I think it was page 81. Sorry, guys, let me just sift through. Yeah, it's right here. So would buyer use real estate agent again or recommend others? So what did they say? Well, 74% of those polled said they would definitely use their agent again. And the 16 is probably. So, if you added those together, that's 90%. So that doesn't really line up with the graph here that says only 12%, right? So right here, that doesn't really line up. Okay. So why is that? Why don't those two numbers, line up with each other? Why do we have such high satisfaction really with our agents, and then we kind of drop off? So I'm going to get another running start at this, and so let's tee up kind of a base level question, and here it is. What do you think it means to be relationship focused and not transactionally focused? And if you want to raise your hand and you want to talk to this or speak to this, I'd love to hear what you have to say. We've got some real veterans on here like Steve Chin and Jim. Looking at this page here, Kevin Larson's on too. If you want to speak to any of that, I'd love to hear what you have to say. So, what does it mean to you to be relationship centered in real estate instead of transactionally centered? Anybody want to speak to that? Steve Chen, could I ask you to speak? Okay, here, let me unmute you. Or Joe, do you want to help me out there with Steve?
I got him.
Okay, thank you. It says ask to unmute. Okay,
Steve,
okay, yeah,
okay.
you're on. We got you. What do you think it means, Steve, to be centered on the relationship and not the transaction?
Well, I try to be relating to Jim Lee, but it hasn't worked. I've known him since 75. No, no. I think the relationship is key. And I think we all know, like your chart showing relationships. And again, I think what's so great about our market is, we're definitely more lifestyle. And I think then that gets into the whole concept of the relationship. And I can get in later with, what we do to stay in contact. But that is key for us. Yeah.
So on the lifestyle that I think some of our, maybe not as much in the Valley, but Moab, St. George, Park City, resort communities. So Steve, when you're saying that the relationship and the lifestyle kind of dovetail together, give me an example of what you mean by that.
Well, I think what it is you go back, step back and say, what are the buyers, at least this is buyer centric now, why are they coming here? What are they looking for? And again, I think we see so many people. We're a great melting pot from all over the United States. And why do they want to come here? And lifestyle seems to be very key. It could be the schools, it could be proximity to the airport, it could be low tax rates, the health and safety. So I think it's like, how do people really want to live? And I think historically, it seems to be driven less by economics. Like, you're not going to be in the big city, New York, Los Angeles, trying to rise up the ladder and make lots of money. It's maybe a combination of I can work remotely, and plus I can raise my children or work in an environment, retire in an environment that's relaxed and easy to get around. So that has been a combination of all that is what I focus on.
That's great, Steve. Let me see if I can get maybe a common thread between all of this that I think we could use and leverage to a number of different aspects. Okay. Have you noticed in relationships that you tend almost every time, it's not every time, okay, but it's most every time that you've got some sense of agreement. You see the world the same way. So when Steve is talking about a lifestyle, he's recognizing preemptively that they are likely coming to Park City for some very common reasons. And he's aware of that and he addresses that. And in the relationship, it tends to build the trust and connection really quickly, because you say to yourself, Steve understands me, right? Steve understands why we're here. And because he understands, then there's a built-in trust. So perhaps, what we could do is look in the mirror and say, am I good at making connections with people when I begin my relationships? And do I continue to make connections over time and understand them over time? Because that's a key, ingredient in the recipe of a relationship. So thank you so much, Steve. I think that's a really good perspective. So that we find connection through common ground, right? That's what we find, and we find ways to be agreeable. So by the way, if I flip that on its head, okay, be aware that you could fall off the cliff when you become argumentative, right, or disagreeable. So. Today, it's tempting to have political discussions. Okay, be very, very careful of that. Tammy and I recently met some neighbors in a house we just purchased in St. George. Of course, we want to build relationships. It was interesting to me that they immediately had this conversation about the political environment. And I could just, in my head, warning, Mayday, Mayday, be careful, right? Because you want to be agreeable with folks. You want to show that you have a connection of commonality, okay? All right. Jim, do you got anything to add to that? You must be noodling on this question a little bit. Do you want to add to this? What does it mean to be relationship centered in real estate instead of transactionally focused? Go ahead.
Sure. You know, the whole game that we're really involved in is I want a relationship. I want a lifetime client, a lifetime friend. A transaction is a one-time event where when I'm dealing with someone, and even if they don't wind up making a purchase, I want to have a bond there that I'm going to get referrals from those people along the way, and their return business once they do buy, should they buy also. So it's much more long-term. Some agents do play the numbers game strictly, where it's transaction based and then they're on to the next one. But my best source of my next business is my last sale.
Right. Write that last sentence down, everybody. The best source of my new business is my last sale. Great words of wisdom. Thank you, Jim, for sharing that. It's so true that the best way to prospect for new business is to really love your current clients. You know, think about that. The best way to prospect for new business is to really love your current clients. It's to go above and beyond for everybody. And I think it, you know, guys, we're just not a bunch of energy. Okay. This is what bothers me about sometimes. Look, I live in the same world you guys do. I see coaching messages and I see us, and I'm not really a fan of just hype. Okay. I want something that is heartfelt, heart-centered, client relationship centered, and I want something that is sincere, and I want something that also has some logic and intellect behind it. In other words, if we've got a lot of energy, that's great, but it should be directed in something that's meaningful and that performs. And that's more of what I would like us all to be. I love energy, right? You guys know that. I get the tease, and that's fine. And I've always been this way. I've always been really excited about life. But I don't want to just run around like the Tasmanian devil. You know? Okay, who knows who I'm talking about? Who knows the Tasmanian devil? Okay, it might be dating us a little bit, but remember, is it always a cloud of dust? But so lots of energy, but didn't really get a whole lot of good things done, you know? So I like what Jim is saying here is that we really go and make our current clients feel like that the relationship has longevity. And you know, you check your mindset a little bit here, because I love being goal focused. I know we march through deadlines, you know, due diligence, financing, appraisal, and, you know, settlement and closing, and then possession, and you know, okay, it's on to the next closing. And I get that it's so tempting. But we're talking about relationships over a lifetime. And that's what this is all about. It's what Brookshire is about. And it's an enduring way. In other words, it's a marathon mentality. You know, we don't sprint from one transaction to the next and go on. In other words, we kind of have a look at a client like decades, right? We look at them for decades. So thank you both for that. Let me keep the questions coming, okay? But you know what? I'm just going to download a bunch of little things for you guys to noodle on. So just write these down. I like to remind everybody about the kind of a comparison between what I would call the basics of a relationship and then our fiduciary duties in real estate and how common they are. Okay. So write these 5 points down, just relationships. Some of you guys heard this before, but these are my 5 points to what I would consider a good relationship. Okay. Since we're talking about maintaining one, here it is. First of all, the first one is gratitude. So I'll just speak to this for about 10 seconds. Gratitude is an inventory of everything that's good. Okay, so we stay away from an inventory of the things that aren't so good. In other words, you could take a client and be grateful that they're your client. That, you know, they may be not as responsive, okay, but you're glad that they trusted you. So first one is gratitude. Next one, honesty. Number 2, honesty. So we're truthful. So what is my house really worth? I'd love for us to be able to justify higher price points. Honestly, I know other agents may have quoted you something higher. This is my honest opinion, okay? Honesty. Number 3, loyalty. So this is their interest above our own. Number 4 is forgiveness. Matter of fact, great Eagles song, by the way. Heart of the Matter. I thought for the longest time the song was Forgiveness, but it's actually called The Heart of the Matter. Great song. Actually, it might be Don Henley, now I think about it. But forgiveness is so key because we've got to forgive people's errors. Just talk 10 seconds on this one too. When people in real estate transactions are not their best, we agree? They're the highest stress. Okay, so they're likely to do and say things that they don't normally do, and later they apologize. So we've just got to let this stuff roll off our backs. So forgiveness is so key to relationships. And the last one is performance. And now this one starts to speak to our roles and the job that we have. And this is where the real intellect, wisdom, knowledge is combined, professionalism is revealed, is that when we perform at a very high level, we start to exceed expectation, we show value, it generates more referrals in the honesty is in there, loyalty, reasonable care and diligence are also in our fiduciary duties as an agent. So it's kind of too bad in some respects that the law had to force, some boundaries on real estate agents to be these things, right? So how about us at Brookshire that we just personally commit again to these fundamental principles? And this is where relationships start to be the center of everything. Okay. Question number 2 then, and I'm looking for some interaction, and Steve, Jim, or anybody else who wants to raise their hand again and answer this, I'd appreciate the conversation. So here we go. What are the best ways to show a client your appreciation for their trust in you? What are some of the best ways to show a client your appreciation for their trust in you? So are we on a timeline here of when we meet them, or we have a current client, or are we talking about a client that's closed? I suppose it could be a number of things. So thanks for lighting up the chat, guys. I'll read these now. And I appreciate all the input, even though I am reading them. So Leslie says, listen to their concerns and needs. Always a good reminder to listen closely, be attentive. Thank you cards. The handwritten card is still a really good way, to express sincere appreciation. I would add that, you make it very personal and take some time and not just check the box if you choose to go down that. And I know that that's not some, oh my gosh, I learned today in coaching that I should write a thank you card. I never knew that. Look, but that's not really, we're not short on ideas. You know what we're short on? The implementation of ideas. Okay. So that, I think, is we just shift your perspective here. And maybe today in coaching, we didn't come just for ideas. We came with how can I implement the ideas? And that one, I'll challenge you to calendar and measure your effectiveness in being sincere in something as simple as a thank you card. Ron is right. That's the performance of working hard. Let's see, be honest with them. Yes. Thank them. And so how are we, maybe if something as simple as thank them, Paul, you kind of spurred a thought here. And maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but maybe I should just do this now. Write this down, guys. This is going to be 3 additional points to relationship. And number one, and I'm going to thank my stepfather who's recently passed on for being so good at this in my life. He really saved me as a teenager. You guys, my biological father was going through some just kind of a dark moment in life, and so he went to Alaska and left me and my brothers with my mom. And that was a hard couple of years. So for a teenage boy to not have a father figure, you know how hard that is. And then in comes my stepdad, who just was a phenomenal example to me. But the first one, now think about how this is with our clients, okay? Number one, be present. And I'll say it 3 different ways. Be present, show up, or be there. It's kind of hard to substitute that in any other, like if Jamie's going to talk about, tools in a minute, and we get water polo in there too, I think. But if you really just ask the question of what's most effective, okay, it's really hard to replace being present, right, with any kind of a tool. It's just not going to be as good. You guys agree? But how can I be there? So, there are some things I think that, like, we've got housewarming, parties that often happen with our buyers when they close and they're excited. What about move-in day? How many of you have tried to avoid move-in day at, like, you know what? No, I am not picking up a couch. Yep, I know. Okay. So I've had to kind of work my style into that. I don't really want to move furniture, but I do want to be there. And I know they're excited. And perhaps there's something I could even bring to them. Can I bring, sub sandwiches? Could I bring some drinks? Is there some tools or something I could bring? But being there, it's kind of hard to do anything better than being there, right? So think about that. Maybe on our calendar, when we go due diligence, financing, appraisal, settlement, and possession and closing, we add another date, right? And that's that drop in and see them. We add another date to the calendar, and we're not really finished with that until we at least add that being there. Okay, I'm going to save the other 2. Okay, I'm going to save this because I don't want to take away your creativity at all, because I don't have all the ideas, guys. No, I certainly don't. So let's go back to this question of best ways to show appreciation. And you guys can read the chats like I can. Handwritten notes. Tell them. I think telling them personally and verbally. Brian, you're so right. Nothing beats that. Words of kindness. You're looking them in the eye. You can be authentic that way, and you can pivot to what needs to be said. Kevin Larson says, maintaining relationships with past clients is part of our job. Yeah, it costs 10 times as much to acquire a new client as does maintain a past client. So true, Kev. If we don't have a system to maintain relationships, we are not running our business like a business. Monthly newsletters, notes, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Yes, that's the whole, the Ford family, occupation, recreation, dreams. We're interested in them. It's a reminder to be interested in them. And be, by the way, Stephen Covey, just this morning in a little podcast, he said, when you're having a conversation with someone, does your mind think, I want to tell them about how my story relates to what they said? Or are you just simply listening to what they're saying? You might have to catch yourself, because it's human nature to go, oh, I had the same experience. Brian Regan, the comedian, says, never tell a 2 wisdom tooth story in a crowd, because there'll always be a 4 wisdom tooth story teller, and he'll just swoop right in there and take your thunder. Well, Stephen Covey is saying, are we more interested in them, or we just want to, get our story out? And I've been guilty of that a few times in my effort to kind of connect with somebody. I've often told a story similar, and maybe it's better at times just to listen to what they have to say. Okay. So very good, Kev. Thank you for putting that in the chat. And if you wanted to talk about that, let me know, Kev, and I'll open. I see he's on the phone right now. So Tammy Swain, handwritten cards. I rarely check my mailbox because there's bills. But people, do they really get mailed cards? Well, if you did get one, would you be shocked? wait, what is this? Is this an envelope? So really good, guys, and thank you for all the input there. So we're a little past my time at 10 to invite our special guest, Jamie. Roney is with us. So Jamie, we're still answering this question. What's best ways to maintain a relationship after closing? I still have a half a page to go over with you guys. But Jamie, from a resource center at Brookshire, how would you answer this? What should our agents be doing to maintain the relationships after closing?
It's a great question, Will. I'd like to say have a football party to watch the latest Pac-12 or Utah football games, but who knows when that's going to happen again. For the resource center, really, I pride myself and our team on delivering valuable content. Now, there's more content in there than you could ever possibly use, and that's the point. Not everyone's going to use the same content. So we want to make sure that there's an array of things that you feel might resonate with your clientele. So sometimes it's the stats reports, sometimes it's the newsletter, sometimes it's an e-card, sometimes it's the latest update on the mountain resort, sometimes it's just a, hey, I believe in your dreams. And that's why there's an array of items there. But my recommendation, just like Will said, I am not living in a bubble thinking that any of these e-cards are going to make or break the relationship. Okay, so the reality is these e-cards, this content is a way to stay in touch, whether or not they read it all. And that's where I get a little sad with some of our agents, not sending out the newsletter. It's ready to go for you. Now, if you want to customize it, fantastic. Joe and I always recommend customizing it. Put your voice on it, put your fingerprints on it, make it sound like you. That's terrific. That's best practices. However, it's better to send it out as is than to not send anything out, because all they need to see, Steve Chin, is your name in their inbox. And maybe they open it up and scroll through and they see something on the Nakoma development, and that reminds them to call you. Or that reminds them to the next day they're at coffee with friends and they said, yeah, we're going to get a home in Park City. Do you know anybody? Oh yeah, Steve Chin's the guy. Okay, and that's what we want to do, is stay top of mind with your clientele so that when they're out and about, not only thinking for themselves, but thinking for their family, their loved ones, their colleagues, they know they can say, oh man, you got to call Christian Nesby. He knows St. Regis back and forward. Linda Murdoch, man, she's fabulous with Silver Springs. We want to make sure that we can stay top of mind and deliver relative and valuable content, not just a bunch of hodgepodge or, stickers or emojis. There's a time and a place for those things as well, but we want to make sure that we have valuable content. So really there's limitless content. Now, don't overwhelm your clientele, but making sure that it's relative to you and to your business and to them. I always recommend at least 2 e-cards or 2 email marketing pieces a month to your SOI, in addition to any social media, LinkedIn, Instagram type content. Did I answer your question, Will, or just start talking?
No, it's really, really good, Jamie. So let me ask you guys a question based on the fundamentals of a relationship. If we send out, say, the market report, which one of those principles are we leveraging when we send market data to our past clients or our SOI? Which one? Remember the 5? So gratitude, honesty, loyalty, forgiveness, and performance. Which one? Performance. I mean, we are performing the role in the relationship. I represent in the relationship the realtor expert, the real estate expert. So I expect my physician, right, my cardiologist to be that. I don't expect my cardiologist to send me, things like seeds for my garden. You know what I mean? Like, I do expect my cardiologist to play the role of the relationship. And I expect my dentist to do the same and my CPA to do the same, and so on and so on and so on. So in the relationship with my professional realtor, I do expect them to play the role there. And the Brookshire content helps us do that on a really high level. So it'd be a tragedy, really, if we're not leveraging all this content that has been put together on a really high level to build our relationship. So thank you so much, Jamie. I said, let me ask you this, Jamie. And look, we didn't rehearse this, you guys. Okay, so just answer it. Okay, Jamie, just answer it. Don't worry about anything other than what the truth is. Okay, I said earlier that it's not. We didn't come to coaching today to get some brand new ideas. So we're not short on ideas. What we're short on is implementation of ideas. Okay. So are we implementing the ideas we already have? That is the battlefront. Okay. So Jamie, do 100% of our agents, 100% of the time they should, send out what they should to their center of influence?
No.
How many of our agents need to do this better?
99.9%.
Okay, so there's a couple that are perfect. I knew it was Steve Chen all along. Oh, no, it's not Steve. Okay.
Part of what I love about Steve Chen is he knows his weaknesses, but he also knows how to surround himself with talented people that can help him. So, Joe and I teach a lot of these classes. You guys have been on these classes. We're not sitting over here churning out content, making sure that, I'm not going out for an award for real estate marketing or anything like that. We're making sure that you have the content that you could use. Now, a lot of people say, I know I should do this, Jamie. I know I should get around to it. One of the things that I love about Resource Center is, and we have experienced platforms galore, Joe and I. We've seen all sorts of email platforms and digital marketing platforms. We're very proud of the Resource Center, one, because it's user-friendly, and two, because of the array of content in there. And there's something called the Real Estate Planning Guide. And I know there's two agents that I've worked with, one in Ogden and one in Park City, that have used this real estate planning guide. Who knew there was a real estate planning guide on the Resource Center? Hey, go check it out. Go check it out. Good job, Tyson. Go check it out and see how you might be able to use that. If you've got a client that's saying, gosh, I really do want to make a move. I don't know when the right time is. I'm sure we all have those clients. So I'd recommend sending them the real estate planning guide. Put in your information, customize it the way you'd like, but give them a guide on how to fill out their needs and what they're looking for and why they're looking to make a move, and understand that personal side for them and not just the transaction side. You guys do that very well. But one of the things I also love about Resource Center is you can schedule everything. So I like to say, plan 45 minutes every 2 weeks, 45 minutes any time of the day, and you can schedule out your content for the next 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years if you want. You can send out your Christmas cards. You can schedule a Happy Thanksgiving card right now and have it go out the day before Thanksgiving, and then you don't even have to think about it. And your clients reply and say, oh my gosh, thank you for thinking of me. I hope you're well. And you set it and forget it in that way. But there's other content like the stats reports that are designed to have you be that professional and have you have that performance. And at the end of the day, it's designed to have a conversation. It's not to have you be the know-it-all. It's subjective. So we want to make sure that people can see you as the expert and raise their hands with questions and come to you with questions and maybe even debate it. So that's why we want to make sure that you are prepared in what those stats say. And just so you know, our 3 stats will be coming out the beginning of October, so here in a couple of weeks. But just keep all of that stuff in mind. And if you ever have any questions about what content I should send, just ask me. I will send you 10 things that you could send right now.
Very good, Jamie. Thank you so much. One thing that Jamie just mentioned is this idea of the set it and forget it. We've talked about this in previous coaching where I think we did a YouTube TED Talk that was called How to Multiply Your Time. I think, yeah, TED Talk, How to Multiply Your Time. And you know, when you set up auto bill pay in the beginning and you have to get the routing number and the checking and account number and all that, and you did it, and it was time consuming. And frankly, it took more time to do that than to just pay one bill, right? Maybe even 2 bills. But once you set it up, it was good to go, and you could move on to the next thing. There's a lot of things in our real estate business where if we could just plan and organize, say, that's the day I get organized in my marketing, and I keep managing that moving forward, watch how more efficient you'll be, and you'll get these things done, and the whirlwind of distractions will not keep you from your relationship maintenance, right? And your Stay in Touch campaign. So thank you so much, Jamie, for bringing that up. Okay, we only have about 10 to 12, maybe 14 minutes, okay? So what I want to do here—
Can I jump in for one of those 10 to 12 minutes?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Joe.
Here's the interesting thing in life when it comes to building a business. We expect the people we are trying to build relationships with to respond to a minimal effort communication. I want to build a communication process that automatically emails all 300 people I've ever met in my life, but I want them to feel like I'm sitting across the table from them, looking them in the eye and talking to them about their family. That is an asynchronous effort, meaning the amount of time you are spending if you are not investing in all the materials Jamie just outlined, if you are not putting a bit of yourself in all those things, you cannot expect them to land with the same force if you actually spend some time, investing in these materials. Jamie and her team do an amazing job building new templates. And all you got to do is click in the little white spaces and put in something that is personal, and they will do that. So think about it in reverse. If you bought a car from somebody and they're spamming you emails that they clearly didn't write, and they're telling you about sales that you clearly don't care about, how is your interpretation of the value of that person giving you in your own life, right? So don't make the mistake that you can get away with something that nobody else on the planet can get away with. Spend the time to actually put a little bit of yourself in these things.
Yeah. And look, I'll leverage a Brian Buffini fundamental. He calls them the drop buys, the pop buys, or, I think he calls them pop buys. There's really nothing better than that, you guys. If you plan that out and just, okay, look, say take Steve and Jim, okay? Veterans and legends in real estate. They've got a past client base that is huge. So take a look at that list and ask yourself, when's the last time you saw any of them face to face? And, even in COVID, you can stand on the door, you can say hi, I've dropped by, leave them something. That's so much better than anything else we could do. However, to not have some kind of professional campaign that uses this technology kind of speaks like you don't have any, right? And now that's not showing our true colors, that we are tech savvy, we are very market aware, and we have the ability to not only reach our current clients through these mediums, but when it comes time to sell their house, we can reach the buyer demographic through the same mediums. We're kind of showing off our ability to communicate and reach people in our marketing when we market it to our own center of influence. So a failure there is a failure in the rehearsal, right, of what the big act is. And that the big act is to sell and market that listing, okay? All right, so I'm gonna look, at this point, we are going to get our best ideas, and we're gonna, please write these down in the text chat. So these are things like, I want to know, do you give a gift? And if you do, what is it? Do you change it every time with every client, or do you have something that's a go-to? So I want to talk about client gifts. I want to talk about what you do when someone refers you, and so they're not the principal in the transaction. And what do you do to show gratitude and appreciation there? So anybody want to comment on that, or please write in the chat. We've only got about 10 minutes left. So looking for kind of all the just, really quick ideas here. Okay, nobody? Okay, so this is where you type like in the chat, like there's a keyboard, and then you just you put like letters together and they become words. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so personalized gift, a keychain. That's kind of nice to go with their house keys. Okay, a gift to suit personality and interest. So very personal. Paul says the same thing. Cutting boards. Okay, nice. Key rings and cutting boards. Like it. Carter House warming party for clients to meet their neighbors. Okay, Larson, why don't you talk about that for a sec? Here, let's unmute Larson. Okay, go ahead, Kev.
There you go. I've seen several of our agents do this. They literally ask the seller or the buyer as they move into their new home if they can cater a housewarming party for them, and they will go around and invite the neighbors. The neighbors show up and they can invite some of their friends and family as well. But here's a group of people that are meeting each other for the first time. You're making the introductions. You're helping host the open house or housewarming party. And quite frankly, they get a lot of referrals from doing that.
Great.
And the clients, usually they're singing your praises to all their friends and new neighbors too. What a great job the realtor did. So it's a perfect opportunity right after the sale to generate referrals and pick up some new clients.
On that same front, Kev, I've seen it done both ways, where a realtor will rent a garbage bin, a big dumpster, and
Yep.
let's say they're moving out and it's a farewell, and guess what, they're gonna get rid of some stuff, but guess what, the neighbors can also dump some stuff there too. You're there helping, and starting conversations, getting names and email addresses. Your clients are able to then say goodbye to their neighbors when maybe they don't know them all that well. But just kind of a nice gesture as they're moving and decluttering and getting rid of all the excess stuff that they don't need, and vice versa when they're moving into a new home, getting that dumpster. There's going to be extra boxes to recycle. There's going to be something where you can say, you're going to pay for the recycling on the back end to make sure that everything goes, and the neighbors can then come meet their new neighbors. I also really like. Now, door knocking isn't necessarily for everyone, especially if it's just, hey, I'm a realtor. Wouldn't you like to know me? But I really like the idea of giving back to the community. So, for example, I had an agent who has extra grocery bags. I mean, I tell you, I got a whole bin of them. You put your business card or a little note on the grocery bags, you go knock on doors, and you ask for shoes. Old shoes for the poor or for kids. I know that everyone needs an opportunity to declutter their shoes. And so if you give them that opportunity, you're giving back to the community. You're saying, here, I'm doing this for a purpose, but guess what? I'd also like to meet you and know you. If you are on the same page as me, I'm going to do all the work, but you're going to feel good about yourself. So if you want to do anything like that, get with me. I can help you with that creative postcard or a note that goes on those bags. And you say, I'm going to come pick them up tomorrow between 11 and 1. Hope to see you. And you get a lot of kind of just goodwill going that way in your direction from your neighbors. And I think I've said this a lot of times, that nothing's worse than waking up one morning, driving down your own street and seeing another real estate for sale sign on your neighbor's house because they didn't know you were a realtor. So it's a great way just to kind of spread the word in your local community.
Nice. You know what, Jamie, I really, really like goodwill.
I like goodwill too.
One of my favorite concepts.
Goodwill
Also,
hunting's not bad either.
Yeah. Hey, Jill Stringham actually hit on one of my best ideas. These security systems are a big deal right now. These cameras that you can access remotely. People travel away from home. We recently bought a second house down in St. George. And I can tell you instantly we wanted those cameras up. And they're fairly affordable. You can get additional indoor cameras on these systems, whether it's Ring or others that are like that, for about $50. You might even take the time to help them set it up, and get practice at that. It's really, really a useful idea is to add, a few cameras to their current system. And I mean, right now we've got one over the pool and one in the garage and one in the kitchen. And I can't tell you, look, we were there last weekend, but just over the last couple of days, I must have looked at that at least a dozen times, So that would be really nice of their realtor to maybe think of something like that, And at the heart of all of this is doing something that is personal to them, And so these ideas don't always match everybody, but if you're really leading out with heart, I think you'll get some really good ideas. Okay, I've got only 2 more tips, and we're about out of time. Anybody else want to add anything that you're dying to share or you think would help everybody? So ideas to maintain and relationship. We didn't talk about let's talk about rule for a sec. What is the value limit for a third-party gift? So this is not a buyer or seller personally, a principal in the deal. So, but someone who referred you, say a listing that closed and you wanted to say thank you. Anybody want to guess? So hit up Tara's already leading off. Anybody else? It was recently changed. Keep guessing. I can hear fingers typing. Anybody? Wow, we're all over the board. So the third party gift is $250. Okay. And so it can't be more than that. So instantly someone at the division workshop said, well, what if the cost was $250 and then I have to pay the tax above $250? So leave it to realtors to push the limit, No, the total amount is $250. And obviously this is to not create kickbacks of any kind. You cannot go on Facebook, by the way, and solicit this. You can't say, I would be glad to give anyone, a $250 gift certificate if you refer me. It has to be unsolicited. Okay. So that means that you cannot have the inducement out there. Okay. All right. So we addressed that. Okay. Brian, I think definitely a personal call, thanking them for and a gift certificate to their favorite restaurant. I like that idea. You find out about people, so we should be on the look about what's the preferred way to thank them, because so I'm on the look for that throughout the relationship. Guys, I'm going to put a bow on this. I'm going to say one more thing in the effort of building relationships. And we've kind of hit on 2 of the, but let's write them down. The first one is to be sincere and personal. And the last one is to be on time. And when we're late, we kind of send this message that something else was more important. So be careful, be on time to things, be a little early if you can, because they do matter and the relationship matters. And that's post-closing or current clients or even building new relationships. Thank you for joining me today. Was this helpful? Did you get some good ideas? And remember, it's the battlefront of implementing ideas, really, not the idea is new and it's shiny. and therefore, you know, we're excited about it. We should really implement, frankly, some older ideas. And we've talked about a lot of simple things today, but in the simple things, great things are accomplished, right? We know that. All right. I love you all. Thank you for joining me for coaching today. Thanks for Joe and Jamie and Kev for chiming in, and Jim and Steve Chin. I really appreciate you guys. We're lucky to have each other in our work family. So let's go out there and love some more people and make some more long-lasting relationships, okay? All right, I'll see you next time.